If I look kind of disheveled, it's because I have COVID, so that sucks. So a lot of you guys like to comment under my session videos that you really love my flow, and a lot of you want to know how I flow so kind of freely and smoothly in session, and because a lot of people find this game very stiff, and a lot of this is down to your settings, but a lot of it is also just getting used to the game and really understanding the physics. But today we're going to go through a few tips that are going to help improve your flow in session. Let's get into it. Okay, so if you want to have a nice loose flow like myself here, first things first, it's a pretty simple one. It's truck tightness. As you can see, my trucks are very low and they allow me to really carve and turn quickly. Of course, truck tightness is very much a personal preference, but for me, loose trucks just make this game feel so much better. Alright, so if you go into options, we go to gameplay, board settings, front truck and back truck tightness. My front truck tightness is set at 1, which is super loose. Back truck tightness is set at 2, which is also super loose. The front truck is a little bit looser because that's the main truck that you turn on. The back truck provides a little bit more stability when it comes to popping and stuff. That obviously affects you a lot more in real life than it does in session. The tighter the truck, the stiffer the turns are going to be. People who skate things like stair sets and handrails and need that like precise kind of roll up to get on the handrail, having your trucks tighter might help you out more because your turning's not going to be as sensitive, so you can really kind of set up a lot more precise run up for a certain thing. But for more tech skaters and loose flowy skaters like myself, who just like cruising about lines and flat ground tricks and ledges and manis, loose trucks are really your go-to when you want that really free flowing movement. That's all it is, and it just allows me to really carve and turn. And it can get a bit sensitive when you're skating really fast. The turning can get a little bit crazy and you can just veer off to the right or to the left more than you want to, but it is just something that you get used to over time and you kind of learn to counteract it. And that was crazy. So I just definitely recommend loosening your trucks. Maybe you don't want to loosen them as much as I do. As well, maybe you don't like the effect of the jiggly truck. As you can see, my trucks are jiggling about like mad. They're basically day one song loose at this point, where I might as well just not have a top bushing. The loose trucks really just help this game feel a lot more smooth and flow so much better for me. So I would definitely recommend loosening those trucks. So the second tip for getting some nicer flow in session comes down to Powerslides and wheel grip. Powerslides are super fun in this game and they can really add a lot of steez into your lines. If you incorporate them kind of into your flow, they can feel really good. Hop into advanced options, I scroll all the way down to Powerslides friction. I have mine set at 1, so the more Powerslide friction means you'll slow down a lot quicker in a Powerslide and you'll come to a stop a lot quicker. Less Powerslide friction means you'll just slide for longer. And I like to use Powerslides to just add a little bit of extra steez into my lines. I don't really want them affecting my speed much because I want to keep my speed up, I want to keep my flow up in a line. So having mine set down to 1 means that I can throw in these quick little Powerslides and they're not actually going to slow me down and they're not going to mess up my line too much. On top of this, if I go to options, gameplay, board settings, and wheel grip, I have my wheel grip set to 4. This is pretty much like the softness and hardness of your wheels. So the lower you have it, the harder your wheels are going to be, meaning they're going to slide, slip about easier. The higher this is, the softer your wheels are, meaning that they're going to grip more, and your Powerslides aren't going to go as far. I haven't actually tested it to see how much Powerslide friction and wheel grip affect each other, but coming from a real life skateboarding standpoint, you're going to want harder wheels in order to Powerslide better. So I have mine at 4. It's not too low, so I'm not slipping out too much in certain tricks, but it's low enough to where my wheels are nice and hard. They're going to help me slide better. So hard wheels and low Powerslide friction means that I have these nice Powerslides that slide really nice and they don't really slow me down that much, as you can see. So my flow stays up. They can also be very useful when it comes to kind of going around tight corners, or if you really want to hold it down and come to a complete stop. Which you can see, because I have my friction so low, they're not the best for braking for me. Now, there's a few cool things that you can do with Powerslides, such as if you go into a Powerslide and let go of one of the analog sticks, you will lean on just one side. So as you can see, they're kind of hard to hold. But there, you kind of just Powerslide on the tail, or you can just Powerslide on the nose like that. But these kind of tail and nose Powerslides really come in handy when it comes to making some steezy reverts. So we're going to talk about reverts now. Now, when it comes to reverting for me, I use the Powerslide mechanic to do reverts. If I go into options, gameplay, revert settings, I have revert on ground disabled, revert on landing disabled, and auto revert disabled. The double tap trigger to revert thing sucks. I hate it. I don't like it. So I have all of that disabled, and I revert entirely with the power slide mechanic. To do this, if you look down at the controller overlay, I just do a power slide like normal. I push both my triggers in opposite directions of each other, kind of facing each other. Like if I want to power slide front side, I push my left analog stick to the left, my right analog stick to the right. If I want to backside, it's my left analog stick to the right analog stick to the left. But for this, depending which way you want to turn, left or right, you want to hit that corresponding trigger so that you turn all the way around. So if I do a backside power slide, I hold down RT and then I'll revert all the way around. If I want to do a frontside revert, if I want to do a frontside revert, then I hold down LT and I'll revert around. A much better control system to revert, in my opinion, over the double tap. This also counts for 180s. If I want to do like a nice steezy 180, like a 90 degrees in the air, and then I revert the rest, I can do that with this technique. Again, you can do this with double tap revert, but I think this one just feels more natural. 360s as well, it works really well for. So something really cool that you can do with reverts is if you incorporate the nose power slide and tail power slide, where you let go of one of the sticks so that you lean on either the nose or the tail, you can do these really nice, I don't really know what you'd call them, but they're reverts where you'd kind of slide around just on the tail or on the nose. So there is this one issue that you'll find a lot, as you can see, where the board flips, and there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not even catching the board, actually. It's just flipping so low and it's hitting the ground that my character's just landing it anyway. It looks really cool, and this could look awesome in a line. If you look at my input, I'm not even doing that flip. I'm just doing the revert and the board's flipping itself. It's an annoying glitch. One way I find to counteract that is if you just really kind of delay the revert. So as you can see, it didn't happen that time because I kind of delayed the revert. But it's a little bit temperamental. Now, one thing I will say, if you do turn off double tap R to revert, is you can't actually revert in a mani this way. Unfortunately, it just pops out in 180s. Currently, there's no way to kind of do a manual power slide, manual revert, which sucks. So if you want to do like mani combos where you revert in the mani, you're going to have to turn on double tap trigger to revert. Now, let's talk about 360s, because somebody asked in one of my videos how I make my 360s and 180s look so good. In terms of 180s, I just do them normally. I just pop and I hold down the trigger, just like that, so I don't really do anything special for those. When it comes to 360s, there's a couple ways that you can do these and make them look steezy. One is, of course, the like 270 revert landing, so like that, where I pretty much bring the board around the rest of the way in a revert, which can look really nice, especially with those loose trucks. Of course, this is done by just kind of only holding down the trigger part of the way till you're most of the way around, and then as you land, you do the revert technique that we just spoke about, holding down the analog sticks for a power slide and holding down the left or the right trigger. This also, of course, works for 180s. If you want to do backside 180s like I do in real life, essentially that's it. But of course, the other way to do 360s is to do the entire rotation in the air, like that, which also looks really nice, really clean. And now to do these, you can see I'm not just turning with the triggers, but I'm also turning with the analog sticks. This method is pretty much like doing a revert in the air, essentially. So you hold down the trigger that you want to turn. So if I want to turn front side, I hold down LT, and I pretty much do the front side revert power slide input in the air. That means the board just comes around a lot quicker. If I tried to rely on just the trigger on flat ground, it just doesn't get it all the way around, so I need to move the analog sticks as well so that I can bring the board all the way around. And I pretty much tweak it in the air to complete that rotation. My flat ground 360s are a really steezy looking trick to throw into a line if you're looking to really get that nice steezy flow. I really think you can't go wrong with a good back three or front three. Okay, so now let's talk about pop-out direction. Now this can be beneficial in your flow and in your being consistent and keeping lines going, but this is just a problem that I see a lot of people have, where they really struggle to figure out how you pop out a certain direction, whether you pop out left, pop out right, or pop out straight into a double grind, for example. Now this is actually a lot easier than you think. It just takes a bit getting used to. So we'll do it on here because I feel like on a ledge like this, there's a lot of opportunities you can do depending on how you pop out. What you need to do is when you're in a grind, you need to release your triggers from that grind input and then do the input for the trick you want to do out. And in order to change the direction of this, you need to have your popping stick. That needs to be facing the direction that you want to pop. If I just demonstrate here on flat ground, if I do a regular ollie where my right analog stick in this case, because I'm regular in this game, is straight down, I just do a standard straight ollie. If I hold it down to the left and I pop up, pop to the left. If I do it to the right, I pop to the right. And this has been in session for a long time. This is a pretty standard session feature where you can kind of have that directional pop, which helps for getting into certain grinds and stuff. The same thing applies in a grind. You just need to release your grind input first in order for you to actually have time to pick a direction. So I'm going to go into a frontside tail slide on this, and I'm just going to pop out regularly first. So as you can see, I let go of the tail slide there and I popped out straight. So say I want to really pop out to the left. After I let go of the tail slide input for a few seconds, just a few seconds, that's all you need. Pushed my popping stick to the left. If I want to pop out to the right, as you can see, I held my left analog stick, or sorry, my right analog stick, my popping stick to the right, and it popped me over the ledge onto the flat there. It's crucial that you leave like literally like a couple milliseconds before you pop out in order to pick your direction. If you don't release the grind input, you're basically just going to go the default direction. So you need to release that grind input for a few milliseconds in order to pop out the direction you want. But it's all in that popping stick. If you want to pop left, aim it to the left. If you want to pop right, aim it to the right. If you want to pop straight up, aim it down. Let's try a front crook here, and we're going to pop over onto the ledge. There we go. That was terrible, but it worked. So let's just quickly go back here. So as you can see, I'm holding on to the grind, and right here, just before I'm going to pop, I let the input go. I just let go of the analog sticks for just for a few milliseconds. The grind is just dipping down, and then about here is when I put my pop stick to the right and I slide up just for an ollie and I pop over onto the right. So that's essentially all it is. If you just practice directional pop on flat like this, and that's what you want to do in your grind, but you're going to want to leave those few milliseconds where there's nothing touching the analog stick, because that's how the game is going to know that you're trying to pop out a certain direction, basically. I think it's easier to do yourself than to watch me do, so hopefully I've described it well enough that you can just go and try it yourself. Just like everything in this game, it takes a lot of practice and you'll get used to it. Okay, so now let's talk slappies. So a lot of people want to know how I do certain slappies, because I do a lot of slappies in my videos, and this is something I'm still trying to get better at, because slappies are hard in this game. They're a challenge, and the size of the curb really matters as well, whether or not a slappie is going to be easy or hard, because as you can see, a curb like this, which is kind of high, connecting a decent slappie into this is not easy. There's a little bit of a lower bit here, which actually this lowers down into a beautiful size for slappies. So the first thing you need for slappies is to go into experimental and turn on lip tricks, because slappies are essentially a byproduct of the lip tricks feature. And now to enable any sort of slappie, you need to power slide towards a low curb, just anything that's low like this. You can also ride on the things, but it can be a little bit buggy ride on things, but we'll talk about that. But essentially a nice low curb like this. You're going to want to power slide towards it, and you're going to then want to let go of one of the sticks and only hold down the stick of the slappie you want to do. So if I want to do a slappie no slide, power slide towards it, and then I let go of my back stick and I only hold down my left stick, which is my front foot, I will lean into a no slide. In that case, it was kind of like a nose blunt. It can be a bit glitchy, but you know, that's just kind of the session physics engine. It could always be a little bit buggy. And you can see that was a really nice slappy nose slide. Now for slappy tail slides, in this case it'll be a back tail, I'm going to need to backside revert. So it is harder, it is definitely harder to get a nice looking slappy tail slide than it is a nose slide, for whatever reason, but they are possible. So yeah, in this case, I just came at it backside like this. I let go of my front stick so that I lean on my back foot only. Now the power slide techniques that we were talking about earlier, like the nose power slide and the tail power slide, this is the exact same technique, except you're just doing it at the right time over a curb so that you can slappy it like that. Now, for curbs that are slightly taller, like this, you're going to need to do an extra input. Because this is taller than my nose, by quite a bit actually. In order to get my nose up there, I'm going to have to basically like tic-tac. So you're really quickly going to have to put your nose up like that, and then quickly lean back onto the nose. This one's a lot trickier and requires some decent timing. So just quickly move. Alright, so that was really ugly, but it worked. You can see that as I was approaching it, I got into a power slide there. I let go of my front foot trigger, which meant that I pushed down on my tail, and then a few milliseconds later, as quick as I could when I was over that curb, I switched my input from my back foot onto my front foot and let go of my back foot because my tail was just over the curb. Then I put my input for my nose there, and I connect with the edge of the curb, and I get into a slappy. So as you can see, that one's a lot harder because it essentially requires that extra really quick input. Practice makes perfect, so just keep practicing it. Okay, we ended up in a nice 5-0 there. A lot of the time with the slappy physics, because the game treats it as a lip trick, meaning that the game kind of thinks of this curb as coping, it can be a little bit buggy. I don't think slappies were exactly the intention with these kind of physics. It's just, like I said, a byproduct of the lip trick feature. And I'll admit, it's hard to make a slappy look good. And as you can see, it does take a lot of patience. But regardless of how bad that slappy was, as you can see, I power slid towards it front side. I let go of my back foot so my nose tilted up, and then just as the tail is over the curb, I let go of my nose, put down on the tail, and I know it looks bad, but I got into that tail slide and then kind of into a 5-0 weirdly. But keep trying it, and you will get a nice looking one eventually, I promise. Now, of course, other slappies exist, but when it comes to 50-50 slappies, I'm using the word slappy loosely. The best way to 50-50 slappy is actually to 50-50 ride-on grind. So for example, here where the curb comes down into a dip, I am going to ride onto that. This here can be kind of tricky because you need to line it up like perfectly. Okay, there we go. You can call this a slappy if you want. I call it a slappy just because it's the closest kind of 50-50 slappy you can get in this game. Or you can call it a ride on grind. But as you can see, I just ride up onto the edge there, into a 50-50 off the other end. It looks really nice. Basically have to do a 50-50 input on the grind. So to do a 50-50, you have your front foot up and your back foot down. Let's just do a normal 50-50 here, like on this. So I pop, front foot up, back foot down, 50-50. Now, if you do this on flat, it is basically how you pump on transition. So doing it on flat, it makes your character just kind of bend his knees and look a bit funny. If you do it towards an edge of something like this, you will automatically connect into a 50-50 grind. But you're not going to want to do it too early because it will mess you up. You have to do it at the perfect time, just as you pretty much get to the edge. And that's when I put in my 50-50 input around here, just as we're connecting to the edge. And we get into the grind. Practice, you'll get used to it. Now, to do a nose grind, 5-0, any other kind of grind, you need to start with the 50-50 connection, because if you just lean on the nose of the tail, you're going to just go into a mani, and it doesn't connect to a grind. You always need to start in with that 50-50 input. You just got to be quick and let go of your nose or your tail to do a nose slide or tail slide. So for example, that didn't work. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't connect and it pushes you out, or it connects to an edge that isn't really there. But it is an experimental feature, so, you know, it's kind of what to expect, I suppose. Alright, so there we got a nice nose grind. In order to initiate that, I had to put in, as you can see here, I'm pretty much in the 50-50 because I have to initiate the 50-50 for the game to recognize that I'm trying to do a grind. Then I let go of my back foot so that I'm only leaning on my nose, and I get into a nice nose grind. So yeah, we initiate the grind with the 50-50 input, then we let go of our nose so that we're only holding down our tail analog stick. And look at that. That looks buttery. Now, popping out of slappies is kind of difficult because it doesn't really like to let you pop out. Basically, you need to do the same thing as the directional pop out, where you let go of your inputs entirely for like a few milliseconds in order to pop out, and even then sometimes it doesn't seem to register. So popping out of slappies is hard. I don't really have any tips for that. It's just timing and hoping that the game works in your favor, because it's pretty unforgiving sometimes. But yeah, I think that is pretty much all the tips that I can really think about right now on how to make this game just feel and flow a lot better. Of course, a lot of it comes down to consistency, and you really want to get consistent with this game. Get to know the physics engine, get a good feel for the game. All this stuff comes within time. I've got over 100 hours in this game already, and more than that actually, because I used to play this on Xbox back in the day. So, you know, I've been playing Session for quite a long time. And yeah, a lot of it really comes down to just getting a feel for the game and the physics engine and just getting used to it and getting consistent. Obviously, you don't have to play on manual catch if you don't want to. There's a few people out there that like to start arguments over manual catch and auto catch, basically saying that if you don't play on manual catch, you're cheating, which is completely false. Play on whatever you want to, whatever makes the game more fun for you, because at the end of the day, it's all about the fun. I personally prefer manual catch. I like the challenge. For example, I missed that switch tray. I need to redo this line. That can be annoying and tedious for a lot of people, but I personally prefer the challenge. And once you get consistent with it, which I know it looks like I'm not, but I'm pretty consistent at this game. And once you get consistent and you get that feel and the timing down for manual catch, I think it just makes the game a lot more enjoyable for me personally. It might not do the same for you, so if you flow better and play better on auto catch, then by all means, play it however you want. Because at the end of the day, it's a video game and it's just for fun. Yes, it's a skateboarding simulator, but that doesn't mean that the real life, unspoken skateboarding rules apply in this. Just play how you want. Have fun. Alright, if there's anything that I didn't cover in this video that you want me to go over, then please let me know in the comments below. But I hope that I explained everything well and that some of these tips help you guys improve your flow in session and make the game a lot more enjoyable for you. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next session video. Peace.